The sky turned a brilliant orange as the sun set over the Pacific Ocean. Dr. Ju Park sat alone in the observatory, her eyes fixed on the monitor displaying strange patterns. For 3 days, these signals had been streaming in from deep space, mathematical sequences, and unusual symbols, unlike any known language. Ju rubbed her tired eyes. She had barely slept since the signal first appeared. Her colleagues at the International Space Research Center had various theories, but none felt right to her. The signal was too structured, too precise to be random cosmic noise. Yet it didn't match any theoretical alien communication models either. Still here, Tahoe walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. As her research assistant for the past 2 years, he knew her habits well. "These patterns," she said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "Look at the mathematical sequence. It's based on prime numbers, but with variations that suggest understanding of complex mathematics. But something feels oddly familiar about it." Tahoe leaned closer to the screen. "Familiar how?" "The sequence follows human cognitive patterns. The way the information builds, the structure of the message. It's how we would communicate if we were trying to reach someone who thinks like us." She hesitated before adding, "I don't think these are aliens, Tahoe." He raised an eyebrow. "If not aliens, then what? What if they're human? What if they're us, from the future?" Tahoe's laugh was cut short by the ringing of Juwoo's phone. Director Kim's name flashed on screen. "Dr. Park, please come to the main conference room immediately. Bring your data." 30 minutes later, Juwoo stood before a room filled with serious-faced government officials, military personnel, and fellow scientists. The atmosphere was tense. Director Kim nodded at her. "Dr. Park, please share your analysis of the signal." Juwoo connected her tablet to the display. "The signal contains mathematical sequences followed by what appears to be a language. Based on the structure and pattern recognition, I believe these aren't messages from an alien civilization." A military officer in the back snorted. "Then what are they?" "Radio interference." "No," Juwoo said firmly. "I believe they're from humans. Advanced humans, possibly from the distant future." The room erupted in murmurs and dismissive laughter. "That's science fiction, Dr. Park," said a government official. "We need serious analysis." Director Kim raised his hand for silence. "Let her finish." "The mathematical structure mirrors human cognitive patterns too precisely," Juwoo continued, "and the pictographs share basic elements with ancient human writing systems, but evolved to a degree that suggests thousands of years of development." Colonel Sunwoo from Defense Intelligence stood up. "Even if this wild theory were true, why would future humans contact us now?" Before Juwoo could answer, the lights flickered. Every electronic device in the room, phones, tablets, computers, displayed the same symbol that had been appearing in the signal. Then the ground trembled. 2 days later, the world changed forever when a massive vessel, unlike anything ever built on Earth, appeared in orbit. Its surface gleamed with a metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. Smaller craft descended through the atmosphere, landing in neutral zones across the globe. Juwoo was among the first team selected to meet the visitors at the Korean landing site. Her heart pounded as she approached the sleek craft. A door appeared in its seamless hull, and 3 figures emerged. They looked human, yet different. Taller, with perfectly proportioned bodies and unusual eyes that shifted colors. Their clothing seemed to flow like liquid metal. The leader stepped forward. "I am Archivist Do-yeon of the Continuity," he said in perfect Korean, though his mouth movements didn't quite match the words. "We come from what you would calculate as the year 52,157. Juwoo felt dizzy. Her theory had been correct. "You recognize us," Do-yeon said, looking directly at her. "You understood our message." "Not entirely," Juwoo admitted, "but I suspected you weren't aliens." Do-yeon's lips curved slightly. "We are what humanity becomes. We have been watching Earth for millennia, guiding when necessary through minimal intervention. Your ancestors gave us many names: gods, Spirits, ancient ones, elders of the stars. Why reveal yourselves now? Asked Colonel Sunwoo, who stood rigidly beside Juwoo. Do-Yun's expression grew grave. Because now, intervention is necessary. Earth faces extinction, and we have come to prevent it. Extinction from what? Juwoo asked. A gamma-ray burst from a nearby star will reach Earth in 6 months. Without protection, it will strip away your atmosphere and sterilize the planet's surface. Silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. We possess the technology to shield Earth, Do-Yun continued. But we need humanity's cooperation, and we should trust you because, Colonel Sunwoo asked. Do-Yun turned to him. Because we are you, your descendants, your future. We have crossed time itself to preserve our shared lineage. Later that evening, as world leaders debated the visitors' claims, Juwoo sat alone with Do-Yun in a secured room. There's more to this, isn't there? She asked. You didn't travel through time just to save us. Do-Yun studied her carefully. You are perceptive, Dr. Park. Yes, there is more. The continuity faces its own extinction in our time. We need something only you, our ancestors, can provide. What? The genetic diversity that time has stolen from us. 6 months, Do-Yun said, his strange color-shifting eyes fixed on the holographic display floating between them. The three-dimensional image showed a star that Juwoo recognized from astronomical charts, though she had never seen it rendered with such perfect detail. This star will release a gamma-ray burst that will hit Earth directly. They stood in the main conference room of the Global Response Center, hastily established after the continuity's arrival 2 weeks ago. World leaders joined remotely on screens lining the walls, their faces showing various degrees of disbelief and concern. How can we verify this claim? Asked the stern-faced American president. Do-Yun gestured, and the hologram expanded to show the star's internal structure. Your current technology can confirm the instability we've detected. Your astronomers simply haven't been looking at this particular star with the right instruments. Director Kim cleared his throat. We've already begun verification with observatories worldwide. Initial readings support their claim, though we need more time for complete confirmation. Time we don't have in abundance, Do-Yun said quietly. After the meeting, Juwoo walked with Do-Yun through the facility's garden, designed to make the visitors feel welcome. The future human moved with unusual grace, as if each step was perfectly calculated. Your people don't entirely trust us, Do-Yun observed. Juwoo smiled slightly. Can you blame them? Advanced beings arrive from the future with warnings of doom. It sounds like the plot of a movie. Yet you believed before we even arrived. I followed the evidence, she replied. But there's something you're not telling us. The gamma-ray burst explains why you're here now, but not why you've been watching humanity for thousands of years. Do-Yun stopped beside a cherry tree, touching its bark with long, elegant fingers. We call ourselves the continuity for a reason, Dr. Park. We maintain the continuous line of human existence, but in our time, that line is breaking. He turned to face her. We face extinction. A cosmic entity hunts what remains of humanity. We need genetic material from you, our ancestors, to survive. Juwoo felt a chill despite the warm day. What kind of entity? One I hope your world never has to face. His eyes darkened to a deep blue. Will you help me explain this need to your leaders? They already distrust our motives. Across the city, Colonel Hannah Lee stood in an underground facility, surrounded by military officials from 7 countries. On screens before them played footage of the continuity ship and its occupants. Their technology is at least 1,000 years beyond ours, she said, possibly much more. Their physical capabilities exceed human limits, and they can interface with our systems without direct contact. Do you believe their warning about this gamma-ray burst? Asked a British general. Hannah displayed astronomical data on the main screen. Our scientists say it's plausible. But that doesn't mean we should surrender control to these visitors. "What exactly are you proposing, Colonel?" asked General Chunno, her superior. "Preparation," she replied firmly. "If they're telling the truth, wonderful. If not, we need countermeasures. Against beings who have mastered time travel." General Chunno raised an eyebrow. What weapons could possibly work against them? "Anything," Hannah said. "Everything. We adapt existing weapons while developing new approaches. We can't assume peaceful intentions." That night, Jiwoo was granted rare access to the Continuity's vessel. The interior defied her expectations, not cold and metallic, but warm with surfaces that seemed alive, responding to touch and thought. "How long do your people live?" she asked as Do-yeon showed her their medical facilities. "The average is 300 years, he replied. "Some reach 500. "And you?" A slight smile. "I am considered young at 170. He showed her how the continuity had evolved. Bodies enhanced through both natural selection and careful biological engineering. Minds capable of processing information at speeds no current human could match. Technology integrated so seamlessly, it was often difficult to tell where the biological ended and the artificial began. "You seem almost like a different species," Jiwoo observed. "We are still human," Do-yeon insisted, "just as a modern human is still connected to your early ancestors who first used fire." As days passed, nations scrambled to verify the continuity's claims while conspiracy theories spread across the globe. Some called the visitors saviors. Others named them deceivers planning an invasion. Jiwoo found Do-yeon watching Earth news reports with a troubled expression. "Your people are dividing over us," he said. "Humans fear what they don't understand," she replied. "And what you're asking for, genetic material from millions of donors, sounds suspicious to many. Without it, the continuity ends. Our population has grown too genetically similar over millennia. We need the diversity of your era to survive." Later that evening, Jiwoo received an encrypted message from Colonel Hannah, an old university friend. "These visitors are hiding something. Meet me tomorrow. Tell no one." When Jiwoo looked out her window that night, she could see the continuity's massive ship glowing faintly in orbit, visible even through city lights. It represented both salvation and mystery. The promise of protection from a cosmic disaster, but at what hidden cost? The predicted date drew closer. Earth had to decide whether to trust these evolved humans or face extinction alone. And Jiwoo found herself caught between two worlds, her own, filled with fear and suspicion, and the future that Do-yeon represented, with all its promises and secrets. Jiwoo met Colonel Hannah at an old tea house in the quieter part of the city. The place was nearly empty, perfect for a private conversation. Hannah looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. "Thank you for coming," Hannah said, checking that no one sat nearby. "I needed to talk to someone who has direct access to them." "What's this about?" Jiwoo asked, keeping her voice low. Hannah slid a tablet across the table. On it were satellite images of structures being built in remote locations around the world. The continuity is establishing bases without full government approval. They claim these are shield generator sites for the gamma-ray protection, but our intelligence suggests they might serve another purpose. Jiwoo studied the images. What purpose? Mass genetic collection. Hannah took back the tablet. "We think they plan to collect DNA from millions of people, possibly without proper consent." Jiwoo felt a chill. Do-yeon had mentioned needing genetic material, but not on this scale. "Have you confirmed this?" "Not yet. That's why I need your help. You have their trust." The next day, Jiwoo walked through a park where children played, seemingly unaware of the crisis facing Earth. The world had changed dramatically in the 3 months since the continuity's arrival. Some cities had welcome centers for the visitors, with people volunteering to provide genetic samples. Other regions had declared the future humans unwelcome, with armed barriers around their territories. When she reached the continuity's local headquarters, she found Do-yeon in heated discussion with other members of his kind. "The humans are becoming more resistant," said Minji, a senior medical officer with striking silver eyes. "We may need to accelerate our plans." Do-hyun noticed Ju-woo and signaled for the others to leave. "You seem troubled," he said when they were alone. "I need the truth about the genetic collection." Ju-woo showed him the images Hana had shared. "What is the real purpose of these facilities?" Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. "You should have been told earlier." "Yes, these are primary collection centers. The continuity needs genetic material from at least 20 million individuals to rebuild our population with sufficient diversity." 20 million. Ju-woo stepped back. "You never mentioned numbers this large. Would your governments have cooperated if we had? Your civilization struggles to act collectively even on simple matters. How could you comprehend a temporal war?" "Temporal war? What are you talking about?" Do-hyun's eyes darkened to a deep blue. "There is more at stake than just the gamma-ray burst. The future of human evolution itself hangs in the balance." Before he could explain further, alarms blared throughout the building. On the wall screens, footage appeared of military forces surrounding one of the continuity's vessels in South America. "They're attempting to seize one of our ships," Do-hyun said, his voice tense. As they watched, the military vehicles suddenly stopped. Their engines died, weapon systems went offline, and communication equipment failed. The soldiers stood helpless as the continuity members simply walked past them to continue their work. "You control our technology like it's a child's toy," Ju-woo whispered. "We're sharing knowledge, not withholding it," Do-hyun replied. "But many of your people fear what they'll become. Can you blame them?" Ju-woo asked. "You're asking us to help create a future that seems to have lost something essential about being human." Outside the building, a crowd had gathered. Half carried signs welcoming the continuity, seeing them as saviors. The other half protested, fearing alien control. The two groups shouted at each other, their anger rising. 3 days later, humanity's division became even clearer. New Tokyo opened the first major genetic contribution center, with thousands volunteering daily. Meanwhile, a coalition of nations in Eastern Europe refused all contact with the visitors, threatening to shoot down any of their craft that entered their airspace. Ju-woo found herself caught in the middle. She understood both the fear and the hope that the continuity brought. Working alongside Do-hyun, she learned more about how humans would evolve, their enhanced bodies, integrated technology, and extended lifespans. But she also saw what they had lost: spontaneity, emotional range, and certain aspects of creativity. "Do you ever regret what humanity has become?" she asked Do-hyun one evening as they watched a sunset. "We gained much," he replied. "But yes, sometimes I wonder about the paths not taken." The division grew deeper when reports emerged of people developing strange illnesses after contact with the continuity. Official investigations found no connection, but fear spread faster than facts. Then came the military coalition's attempt to attack the continuity's main vessel. A combined force of aircraft and missiles approached the massive ship hovering above the Pacific. As the world watched through live broadcasts, every weapon simply shut down mid-flight. The aircraft remained operational just long enough for the pilots to return safely to base. "We mean no harm," Do-hyun announced in a global broadcast afterward. "But we will defend ourselves and our mission." The demonstration of power only widened the divide. More people flocked to support the continuity, believing resistance was pointless. Others grew more determined to fight what they saw as an invasion disguised as salvation. When Ju-woo returned to her apartment that night, she found Hana waiting. "The gamma-ray burst is still coming," Hana admitted. "Our scientists have confirmed it. But these visitors have another agenda. We need to know what it is before it's too late." "I'll try," Ju-woo promised. "But the world is running out of time to stand united on anything." Outside, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere among them was the star that would soon threaten all life on Earth. And orbiting silently above was the ship of their future selves, bringing both salvation and uncertainty. With only 1 month remaining before the gamma-ray burst, Juwoo received a strange message from Dohyun. Meet me at access point 7. Come alone. There is something you must see. She found him waiting by a hidden entrance to the continuity's ground facility. His usually calm face showed signs of worry. What's wrong? She asked. There are things my superiors haven't authorized me to share, he said, looking over his shoulder. But you deserve to know the full truth. Follow me. They descended in a silent elevator that seemed to move in directions Juwoo couldn't quite understand. The doors opened to reveal a circular room with walls covered in flowing symbols and images. This is our temporal archive, Dohyun explained. It contains our history, your future. He placed his hand on a panel, and the room transformed. They stood surrounded by stars, as if floating in space. What you're seeing is real-time data from our era, 50,000 years from now, Dohyun said. The view shifted to show massive structures orbiting distant stars. This is what remains of humanity, the continuity. Once millions strong, now reduced to fewer than 10,000 individuals. What happened? Juwoo asked, reaching out to touch a holographic star that shimmered at her fingertips. We are at war. Not with aliens, as some of your people have guessed, but with, he hesitated, with other humans. The scene changed to show beings of pure energy, beautiful and terrifying, moving through space without ships. These were once human too. They chose a different evolutionary path, shedding physical form to become pure consciousness. They consume stars for energy. We call them the Ascended. Juwoo's mind raced. You're not just fighting extinction from low genetic diversity. You're fighting another version of humanity. Yes, without our intervention, Earth's humanity would eventually become them, not us. This temporal conflict has been ongoing for thousands of years. Earth is the nexus point where our timelines diverge. Juwoo suddenly understood. The gamma-ray burst isn't just a natural disaster you came to help us with. It's part of this war. Dohyun nodded. The Ascended have tried to alter history by ensuring the burst hits Earth unprotected. If humanity is severely reduced, the timeline leading to the continuity weakens. So Earth is ground zero in a time war between two possible human futures. Juwoo whispered, "Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? Would your leaders have believed us? Even now, many doubt the gamma-ray burst despite your own scientists confirming it." As they talked, an alarm sounded. The holographic display shifted to show a hospital on the other side of the city. A group of continuity members were moving through the building, collecting samples from patients who didn't appear to be willing participants. "What is this?" Juwoo demanded. "Those people aren't volunteers." Dohyun's face hardened. A splinter group led by Minji. "This is not authorized." They rushed to the surface and drove to the hospital. By the time they arrived, security forces had surrounded the building. Inside, they found Minji and 5 other members of the continuity in a standoff with local police. "Stop this immediately," Dohyun commanded. Minji turned to him, her silver eyes flashing with anger. "Our extinction approaches while you negotiate with primitives. We can't wait any longer." "These are our ancestors," Dohyun reminded her. "They deserve respect and choice." "Choice?" Minji laughed bitterly. "Did the Ascended give us choice when they destroyed our outer colonies? We have the power to take what we need." Dohyun looked at the terrified humans around them. "At what cost to who we are? If we force our will on them, how are we different from the Ascended?" After tense negotiations, Minji's group surrendered the samples they had taken. As they were escorted out, Juwoo noticed the growing distrust in the eyes of the hospital staff and police. That evening, Juwoo met with Colonel Hana and Director Kim in a secure location. "The situation is worse than we thought," she told them, explaining what she had learned. "Earth is caught in a war between 2 versions of our own future. Can we trust any of them?" Hana asked. "Even Dohyun." "I believe we can trust him," Juwoo said. "But not all of the continuity share his respect for our autonomy." Director Kim sighed heavily. The gamma-ray burst is coming regardless. We need their shield technology. But we need guarantees, Hana insisted. We can't let them harvest our people's genetics without consent. The next day, riots broke out in several cities as news of the hospital incident spread. Supporters of the continuity clashed with those who feared them. Governments issued conflicting statements, some pledging cooperation, others threatening to withdraw from all agreements. Juwu found Doyun standing alone, watching Earth's sunset from an observation deck. "Your world is tearing itself apart," he said quietly. "People are scared. They feel caught in a conflict they never asked to join. The Ascended will arrive soon," Doyun warned. "They've detected our presence here. When they come, they'll try to prevent us from deploying the shield. Then we need to unite humanity quickly," Juwu said. "But first, you need to tell everyone the whole truth about the Time War, about the two possible futures for humanity. No more secrets." Doyun turned to her, his eyes shifting to a color she had never seen before. "You're right. It's time for complete honesty, whatever the consequences may be." As night fell over the city, the stars seemed to shine with new meaning. Among them were two possible futures for humanity, one of physical evolution and technological mastery, another of transcended energy and collective consciousness, and Earth stood at the crossroads, with just weeks to decide its path. The world watched in stunned silence as Doyun revealed the full truth through a global broadcast. Holographic displays showed both possible futures for humanity: the continuity with their enhanced physical forms and technological integration, and the Ascended with their pure energy forms and collective consciousness. "Earth stands at a crossroads," Doyun concluded. "The gamma-ray burst arrives in 2 weeks, but this is about more than survival. It's about which future humanity will embrace." After the broadcast, opinions were sharply divided. Some saw the Ascended as the natural evolution of humanity, transcending physical limitations. Others believed the continuity represented a more balanced path, preserving individuality while advancing technology. Juwu sat in a crowded meeting room at the Global Response Center, surrounded by world leaders and scientists arguing loudly. "We can't make this decision for all of humanity," shouted one official. "We have no choice but to decide," countered another. Juwu stood up, silencing the room. "What if we don't have to choose one future over the other? What if humanity could forge its own path, informed by knowledge of both potential futures?" Later that evening, she presented her idea to Doyun: voluntary genetic contributions to help the continuity survive, but Earth remains free to develop without interference. We deploy your shield technology against the gamma-ray burst, but afterward, humanity chooses its own evolutionary path. Doyun considered her proposal. "The continuity needs at least 5 million genetic donors to rebuild our diversity. We can reach that number through volunteers," Juwu insisted. "People who choose to help after understanding the full situation." The next day, volunteers began flooding contribution centers worldwide. Millions chose to help the continuity, while still more expressed support for finding a middle path between the two futures. Colonel Hannah approached Juwu in the hallway after another tense meeting. "I was wrong about them," she admitted. "Not completely wrong. Some of them were willing to take what they wanted by force, but Doyun has proven himself trustworthy." "We need to prepare for the Ascended," Juwu replied. "Doyun says they'll try to stop the shield deployment." The shield technology was unlike anything Earth scientists had seen before. Thousands of small devices were positioned strategically around the planet, designed to create an energy field that would deflect the gamma radiation. Each device required constant monitoring by both human and continuity technicians working together. 3 days before the predicted burst, the sky above Earth began to shimmer. Strange lights appeared, moving in patterns too precise to be natural. "They're here," Doyun said, watching the lights from the command center. "The Ascended have arrived." The beams of pure energy descended through the atmosphere, beautiful and terrifying. Where they passed, electronics failed, and people reported strange dreams and visions. At the main shield control facility, Ju worked frantically alongside Doyun as reports came in of ascended beings disabling shield generators. "We can't lose the shield," she said. "Billions will die." "They believe your extinction is necessary," Doyun explained. "In their view, if humanity follows our path, the universe loses the greater consciousness they represent. And if we follow their path, we lose our individual identities," Ju countered. "Neither option is perfect." As the gamma ray burst approached, a massive ascended being appeared above the control facility. The air crackled with energy as it communicated directly into their minds. "This branch must end," it projected. "The collective is the true destiny of consciousness." Ju felt Doyun's fear through their connected systems, but she stepped forward. "You're only half of what humanity could become," she said to the energy being. "The continuity is the other half. Why must we choose between individual identity and collective wisdom? Why can't we have both?" Using the continuity's communication technology, she established a three-way link between current humanity, the continuity, and the ascended. For the first time in thousands of years, all three versions of humanity connected. "We each hold a piece of what humanity could be," Ju said through the link. "Physical strength and individuality, technological mastery, and transcendent consciousness. Why choose one path when we could integrate all three?" The ascended being pulsed with confusion, then curiosity. The concept of integration rather than competition was foreign to both future versions of humanity. In that moment of connection, as the gamma radiation reached the edge of Earth's solar system, a new understanding formed between the three human futures. The ascended withdrew their attempts to disable the shield, allowing it to fully deploy. The sky turned brilliant purple as the radiation hit the shield. For 6 hours, the world held its breath as the protective field strained under the onslaught. When it finally passed, Earth remained safe. In the days that followed, both future versions of humanity prepared to return to their times. The continuity had collected enough genetic material to ensure their survival, and the ascended had agreed to a temporal peace treaty. Before departing, Doyun met with Ju one last time. "What happens now?" she asked. "For the first time in thousands of years, the future is truly unknown," he replied. "Your actions have created a new timeline, one where humanity might achieve a balance we never found." Ju established the Evolutionary Council with representatives from every nation, tasked with guiding humanity's future development. "We know what we might become," she told the first assembly as she looked up at the stars. "Now we decide what we should become." Above Earth, the massive vessels of the continuity shimmered and vanished, returning to their distant future. In the night sky, unusual lights danced briefly as the ascended also departed. Humanity stood alone again, but forever changed, aware now of its potential and determined to forge a path that preserved the best of all possible futures.